Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us today. Thanks so much for joining us. It turns out we don't have to wait until January 20th of 2025 for America to be made great again. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son announcing this week he's going to dump $100 billion into the U.S. economy, which is going to create 100,000 jobs in turn. And he tells us why he's making this investment. Take a listen.
My confidence level to the economy of the United States has tremendously increased with his victory. So because of that, I'm now excited to commit this $100 billion and 100,000 jobs into the United States. This is double of last time, as President Trump said. Because I say, oh, President Trump is a double down president. I'm going to have to double down, $100 billion and 100,000 jobs. This is, my confidence level, because that has doubled down. So I am truly excited to make this happen. And of course, business is important. Technology is important. But one more thing I'm really hoping is that this President Trump would make the world, bring the world into peace again. That's my additional hope.
I think we all agree with Masayoshi Son. We all want America great again, but we also want the world great again. And you can go down the list of things that is wrong with the world right now. A few wars going on overseas. Different countries knocking on our back door, at our front door, getting ready to maybe make a move on America. And you could go look at Iran, largest state sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East. A lot of bad people want bad things to happen to America. But now that I think President Trump is back, things are going to start to change. It's starting right here at home. On the we had on November 5th, just over a month ago, we got rid of some of the rhinos that are making America terrible. One, Mitt Romney. But Mitt Romney now all of a sudden deciding he wants to be a Trump guy. And he loves Donald Trump. He loves his policies. I don't know if he's looking for a job or what, but take a listen to Mitt Romney on CNN over the weekend, pretty much confessing his love for Donald Trump.
Do you still think there's going to be a post-Trump Republican Party, or is MAGA now the Republican Party?
Oh, MAGA is the Republican Party, and Donald Trump is the Republican Party today. And if you were to ask me who the nominee will be in 2028, I think it'll be J.D. Vance, all right? He's smart, well-spoken, part of the MAGA movement.
You said something pretty harsh about him a few months ago, though. You could not have less respect for somebody than J.D. Vance.
Long ago. I'm not going to rehash history. And we've worked together in the Senate since then. But I that is what the Republican Party is. And will the party need to change? Look, the Republican Party has become the party of the working class, middle class voter. And you've got to give Donald Trump credit for having done that, taken that away from the Democrats.
The man is seriously mentally deranged. A lot of things wrong with him, but nonetheless, I think he's looking for a job or to get back in the MAGA orbit, but that ship has long sailed. He's had way too many chances. He's screwed up time and time again. He's cost us maybe an election in 2020, but as I say, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it's better off we have Trump now with everything that's going on in the world. If you want to look at it from the other side, maybe it would have been better if Trump had taken office in 2020 because we wouldn't be where we're at right now in the world as for wars and inflation and just the detrimental things that are going on in this country. But nonetheless, we have Donald Trump coming in January 20th, and it's going to be truly a remarkable time for America. Some other great things happening over the weekend. George Stephanopoulos, a man who's got Trump derangement syndrome, I mean, to the next level, reaching a deal to pay Donald Trump $15 million towards his presidential library for lying on air, defaming President Trump, claiming he raped E. Jean Carroll. Stephanopoulos failing to mention the settlement on his show over the weekend. I can't seem to figure out why. Also happening over the weekend, this whole drone debacle that's happening in the Northeast, up in New York, New Jersey. Now we're finding out in D.C. A total mess. Nobody seems to know what's going on in this country, where these drones are coming from, why they're here in the first place, how they got here, where they're taking off from, where they're landing, and what exactly they're doing. So to give us all, I think, a better sense on what's going on and where these drones are going and where they're ending, I want to bring in our guest today. He's former senior NSA Intel analyst, Russ Tice, great American and correspondent of the show. Russ, I want to begin with first playing the audience a video of Secretary of DHS Alejandro Mayorkas giving us some insight into what's going on with these drones. Take a listen.
Let's bring in Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us this morning. Can you clear up the confusion here?
Absolutely, George, and thank you very much for having me. There's no question that people are seeing drones, and I want to assure the American public that we in the federal government have deployed additional resources, personnel, technology to assist the New Jersey State Police in addressing the drone sightings. Some of those drone sightings are, in fact, drones. Some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones, and we do see duplicative reporting. But there's no question that drones are being sighted. Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality. But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
What exactly do you need?
We want state and local authorities to also have the ability to counter drone activity under federal supervision. That is one important element that we have requested, and we've heard it echoed by the state and local officials themselves.
Russ, I want to get your reaction to that, but first I want to play one more clip from Mayorkas, who was on CNN also over the weekend making his media rounds, telling us where you can buy these drones.
We believe that there are cases of mistaken identity where drones are actually small aircraft and people are misidentifying them. There very well may be drones in the sky, of course, but those are commercially available. One can go into a convenience store and buy a small drone. There are also commercial drones as well.
So, Russ, the same convenience store that you go to buy orange juice, you can go to the store and pick up. This is the commercial drones he was talking about. Okay, you see this? It's about, I don't know, I'd say probably 8 or 9 inches. That's the drones that Mayorkas is telling us we're all going crazy over. Your thoughts to just everything he had to say and everything that's going on right now?
I do believe we're talking about drones about the size of a SUV. I think if you went on Amazon and you looked for that, it'd be difficult to just purchase one of those right off the bat. This whole thing is silliness. The Mayorkas may not know what this is, or he's been told to, just keep your mouth shut and, just throw out some nonsense. But this is very likely a Department of Defense program. It's probably right now being run by contractors, which is why they say, well, this is not a military, system. Well, when you're developing a system, it's run by a contractor. And it's built, it's tested, it's all basically sanctioned before you hand it over to the military. And I am quite sure this is a classified system. I'm quite sure I also know what the capabilities are that they're testing, but I'd rather not go into that because it's something that's something that we kind of need for our defense. But they probably went out west and they did some rural testing first, and then they had to test this thing in a suburban and urban environment, which is why they're hovering around in New Jersey and maybe you've seen them over your place there in New York. So, but you got to realize also something like this they're going to have short legs. So it's not like you could park a boat 50 miles off the coast, fly it in, buzz around for 3 or 4 hours, and buzz back to the mothership. That's nonsense. A battery operated vessel like this is not going to be able to have much airtime. So, excuse me. More than likely, this is something that they're working out of McGuire Air Force Base or Picatinny up there a little farther north in New Jersey, or maybe back and forth between the two. But this is very, very likely a government, very classified program that they're testing. And they're doing this kabuki dance to try to pretend that, what people are seeing is just a night vision or, a 737 or something. But it's not. These people aren't imagining these things. They're actually seeing them. Sooner or later, someone's going to get their shotguns out and shoot one of these things down. These things probably have infrared detectors, so they can see everything that's on the ground. They can see the people that are looking up at it, and they know, that's why when people start to get too excited, they turn off the lights. Another thing about this thing, they use red and green lights, just like we do when we fly. We're both flyers. So you need to know whether something's coming at you or going away from you when you're in the air. So they're following all the different flight restrictions, and they're keeping within bounds. Right. This is government. This is not space aliens. This is not the Chinese or the Iranians. This is us. And they just need to come out and say, look, this is a program. It's confidential. We understand people are, they're concerned. We've got it under wraps, but we really can't tell you the details, and just let it at that. Instead of playing this nonsense where someone's going to get out there with a shotgun and blow some of these things down, it's liable to land on someone's house, and someone get hurt. Right. These people, they've got to stop being stupid.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The reason I think it's probably government related and agree with you on this is because, as you said, you and I are both pilots. The way they're flying these things and the location they're flying these things, you have had a near miss by now on some sort of airline or some sort of commercial jet. I took off out of Newark Airport to come down here to Florida on Friday night, and I took off and we get up to altitude. And for everyone who flies, when you get up to 10,000 feet, usually you hear a ding, and the plane will level off for a few minutes, and the flight attendants will come on and make an announcement. So we level off at 10,000 feet, and I look out the window, and I see these drones, and they're at about 10,000 feet. These aren't your DJI civilian drones that they're talking about with the battery the size of an iPhone. I mean, these things are serious, as you said, the size of cars. So I look out the window, and I see them, and Mayorkas wants to do the deceit. Now, I don't know if he knows what's going on or he's playing dumb or whatever. You can never tell because he's a liar by trade. But I look out the window and I see these things dead stop. And as you mentioned, you can tell by the light pattern, red and green lights, if it's coming towards you, if it's going away from you, or if it's going left to right. In other words, if it's going left to right, you'll see either just the red or the green. If it's coming towards you, you'll see the green on the right, the red on the left, and then vice versa if it's going away from you. I didn't see any of that, and these things are just sitting there. So for him to try to tell us that we're seeing things, I don't know if he realizes the American people, the average American, is far smarter than Mr. Mayorkas. Mayorkas, as far as I'm concerned, is probably in the double digits when it comes to IQs. The average American is not. How much longer can they get away with this, Russ, before some American just gets tired of it and goes out there and shoots the damn thing down?
Well, ultimately, when you have an atmosphere of the unknown and you throw all these silly things around about the space aliens or the mothership from Iran, the good old boys are going to get, okay, well, these are bad guys, and if they're smart good old boys, they'll wear some Mylar blankets to keep the IR from picking them up, and they'll lay out in the field where normally they'd be shooting geese or ducks and with their shotguns
right.
and take out some of these things. Then you got a much bigger incident and problem than if you just came clean and said, look, it's classified, everybody calm down. It's something that that we're doing that's going to be good for our country, for our national defense, and everybody just calm down. It's not something nefarious. It's the government is got to be somewhat smart about this instead of this stupid kabuki dance or the girl from the Pentagon, doing her smirky little
even John
condescending review that and a lot of that listen to what they say, the semantics of it. This is not a military or okay, technically that may be right because it's being controlled by the contractors right now and has been turned over to the government. So there's lots of semantics with the people that do know, and they're spouting their little spin arounds. But got to come clean with this.
I want to take a quick break here, Russ, and when we come back, I want to continue because it seems what the government tries to do, and they do it constantly to us because they think we're stupid. Most of us are smarter than the people who are running this place, running this country. But what they try to do is a game of deception. It's like they've learned from China on how to do deception with the lies and the projection. We find out now that there's supposedly an Iranian aircraft carrier that's been missing now for some months. Coincides with them telling us that these things are maybe being launched off of some sort of ship out in the ocean. We find out that deception seemed to be losing ground a little bit. Once that started losing ground, we now have a report now, Russ, that the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission released a report confirming radioactive material has been lost in transit. Shipping container arrives damaged and empty in New Jersey. I want to take that up on the other side of this quick break because I'm tired of the government lying to us, and I think the American people deserve far better than what we're getting. We're going to get better, but we don't deserve this. We're coming right back with Russ Tice, former senior NSA Intel analyst and a great American. Stay with us.
I'm excited to announce our Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while you can. Our famous My Slippers, they haven't been on sale for over a year. Regularly $119.98, now only $59.98. Our 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. Bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save on all MyPillow products. For example, flannel sheets for as low as $59.98, or our 6-piece towel sets, just $29.98. But that's not all. I'm extending our 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus, all orders over $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Folks, we're back. We're talking with Russ Tice. He's a former senior NSA Intel analyst and great American and a whistleblower, a great whistleblower, and a great American for doing so. Russ, the game of deception. You've worked in the government for many years, both in military capacity and then in a capacity which you can't really talk much about. Give us your thoughts before we went to break there as I broke down the game of deception I believe the U.S. government is trying to play right now between the Iranian carrier that's gone missing and now the nuclear shipping container that's arrived empty.
Well, that nuclear container is very interesting. That I'd be interested to know what status that the radioactive material was in. Was that something that could be spun up on a centrifuge to be turned into weapons grade capability? Was it something degraded that just needed to be to be put away in whatever our equivalent of Yucca Mountain is? Yet I don't think Yucca Mountain ever opened up, but to be disposed of. But back in the 60s, we had a whole a fair amount of nuclear material that went missing, and I think we ultimately found out it ended up in Israel. Now you can imagine what the Israelis did with it. But so yeah, that's something to be concerned about. I mean, I'd have some folks with basically some radioactive detectors out there trying to figure out where that is, and pronto.
But do you think it's a game of deception by the government, or do you think there's actually a shipping container out there that arrived empty? I saw on Twitter, and this is unconfirmed, the radioactive material that was in there was for the likes of a PET scanner, something that you take PET scans with. But it just doesn't make sense. You talk about that Iranian carrier. It's gone missing. Nobody knows where it is. Well, clearly it's not off the coast of America. I mean, it's not something, it's not a submarine, Russ. It's not something you can hide underwater. It's not something that you can bury very easily. You mentioned infrared technology. You run an infrared plane or a drone over the ocean, 20, 30 miles offshore. It's very simple to figure this out, Russ, is what I'm trying to say. You run a scan 20, 30 miles offshore, and you figure out what the drone distance is, and you narrow your search area of what you can find. If you don't see the Iranian ship there or any sort of carrier ship there, they're probably not coming from there. What's your thoughts?
Well, something that's truly dangerous when the government transports it, they normally do it and very quietly, but they'll have chaser cars with guys with automatic weapons that are all but they try to make it look like it's just a regular shipment of, I don't know, bananas coming up from the south or something. But the security around something that's dangerous would be very tight, but very under the cover. When you'd be driving down the highway and you wouldn't even know that you're passing a truck with weapons grade nuclear material that's going from one place to another, or that's going to be disposed of. So it's hard to say. I can't believe that if this was something that's very dangerous that the government doesn't know with it. I mean, if it's just something that they put in X-ray machines or something like that, it could be that some bad guys decided to take off with it, and in that case, maybe the FBI can do their real job and find out what happened to that. But if this was truly dangerous, the government normally has people they're making sure that it gets where it needs to go.
Mayorkas also telling George Stephanopoulos, and we're not going to play any more videos of Mayorkas or Stephanopoulos. We apologize for making you guys have to look at both of them in the first place. But he says they're limited in their authorities to incapacitate the drones. What will we find out if someone does shoot down one of these drones? I mean, they say they're doing survey work or looking for nuclear equipment or whatever. The story changes every single day about what exactly these drones are doing. Do you believe Mayorkas actually knows what they're doing? Who knows and who doesn't know these top secret missions? Who would be in the loop? Because President Trump tweeted out the other day, if we don't know where these things are coming from, shoot them down.
Mayorkas would not be in the loop. Most everybody in the Pentagon would not be in the loop. This would probably be under a SAP program, Special Access Program, and only a select people that were involved in building the program and funding it, and somebody at the Pentagon who's in charge of this. They would know, but they have to keep their mouths shut. So when I worked all these SAP programs, you always had to come up with explanations, logical explanations of if you had a problem and something got compromised, you had to have something to say that would be logical to explain, a level of compromise. And we would even have explanation A, B, C, and D, of varying levels of depending on how bad your system got compromised, as to how many, all these explanations as to what it really could be. I mean, they're saying things like, well, it's just commercial aircraft, and that's a very sad level A, explanation. So whoever's involved, if Mayorkas did know, which I don't think he does, then that would be pretty silly. So I don't think he knows. they're putting this thing under a pretty deep classification cover. And like I said, all they need to do is come out and say, look, it's something that we can't talk about. Don't be worried. It's
Right.
government sponsored and we're taking care of it. But yeah, there's a lot of people that would not know. We have a thing called a bigot list. A bigot list are all the people in a SAP program that are cleared. Some PAP programs, some SAP special access programs, they have very short bigot lists of the people that are allowed to know, maybe only 20 people. So, I can't imagine this system would have such a short bigot list, though.
Russ, everyone's got a friend at some point in their life who was never able to sneakily do something, right? You tell them, hey, go do this. And they'd bang every drum and pot and pan trying to do this sneaky maneuver, whether it be something in class as a kid or doing mischief around the neighborhoods or whatever. There was always that one friend who was obnoxious and got caught. And the way the government is running, if this is a SAP program, and there's 20 or 30 people who know exactly what these things are doing, they're not very good at their jobs. I mean, why did they not have a plan in place to say, hey, here's the deal. We're going to be running this drone program. We're doing aerial survey work. That's a very common thing that people do with drones. We're doing aerial surveys, and they could have launched these things up. They could have got them, bang, bang, bang. The other thing that doesn't make sense is that these things are up here now for days, going on weeks. What can possibly be important that you can't get like that? You guys have these things going. The government is absolutely so stupid. We had the balloon Russ that flew over the continental United States. They waited until it got off the coast of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and then shoot down with a $400,000 Sidewinder missile. I mean, how stupid has this government got? And their contractors, Russ, where are they hiring these folks from?
You got to wonder if they're part of the, diversity hire program or something. Maybe the guy running it is wearing a dress and he's worried about his eyeliner and his rouge or something not working out quite well. He's with his mirror instead of his control stick. But so yeah, you got to wonder about competency these days. Who knows? It's like I said, in my day, we tried to be pretty responsive, but even then, we had folks that wanted to, because with some of the stuff I had, we had no control, we had no oversight. So some of the guys wanted to shoot from the hip, and we had some issues that we did some things that went a little bit awry, and we caused some damage. And one time, I got called in when I got left out of the loop on purpose. Excuse me. Because I was always the one that said, hey, we need to make sure we have strict controls. And they're like, we'll do whatever the hell we want. We have no oversight. But then they went and they did something stupid. And then they called me in to try to, explain, we need an explanation for the Secretary of Defense right away. This was at NSA. And I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even know you guys were using the capability. And now you want me to, pull your caboose out of the fire, which was pretty much what was happening. Matter of fact, that's one of the things that when I did go to Congress to talk to them about that I had to bring up. But it's pretty sad, and we need to have some controls, and they just need to have some common sense that someone should have thought that if we fly these things around urban environments, at a low altitude, and their size of an SUV, that people are going to, and with lights especially, people are going to notice. So, some of these people need to just wake up, or maybe they need to be replaced by someone with some common sense.
They definitely need to be replaced with someone with common sense, and hopefully, with the Pentagon, it's Pete Hegseth that comes in and does that, because I can't think of a better way to blow your cover than what exactly these people are doing. And if it's an undercover program that they're using maybe to plan an overseas mission, and Iran knows they're not the ones flying the drones. And I'm surprised we haven't heard Russia, by the way, because that's usually a good scapegoat when President Trump's around. Russia's not flying these drones, or the Palestinians aren't flying these drones. They figure it out right away, Russ. It's an American operation. The fact that President Trump is now saying he doesn't know what's going on. Would he be one to know? The president's-elect and the president are presumably getting the same classified briefings right now as we're just under a month away from President Trump retaking office. Is this something President Trump would have been briefed on?
Well,
could he have been?
Not necessarily, but you might want to put something. If they're going to handle it, and they would tell the people that this is going to be something and don't worry about it, I don't think it would show up in the president's brief. But if it's considered something very highly touchy, it might end up in the briefing. But we know now that President Trump did not get an awful lot of information from the intelligence community. Matter of fact, the intelligence community was quite pernicious in the way they came after the president himself. They with their knives as if they were going after Caesar on the Ides of March. So it's I mean, for instance, the assassination, the killing of Jeffrey Epstein was done when President Trump was in office, and no one told him that more than likely the CIA went in to kill Jeffrey Epstein. So, and I'm quite sure that was a government-sponsored hit. So, yeah, and you would think that's a pretty high level to want to talk to the president about. But that was the deep state.
I don't know how security clearances work and who's privy to what knowledge, but if President Trump goes in or Joe Biden goes in and says, I want to know what's going on, you have to tell him, listen, this is the SAP we're running for X, Y, and Z.
The president may not know, what's going on because the information's being kept from him. And he's being given dog and whistle shows, a dog and pony and, bells and whistles, or just plain not telling him, period, what's going on. I think that happened quite often with President Trump. With our current president, I don't think even if you told him, he'd remember half an hour later. So it doesn't really matter with that one. But I assume it was some of his puppeteers. His puppet masters would know, or maybe even not. So, the answer is who knows. But like I mentioned with Jeffrey Epstein, that was a government hit, and certainly President Trump was not made aware of it. So, and of course, that's never been investigated. And I certainly hope that the Mr. Patel and company do a little bit of research, as well as the future director of CIA, as to what really happened there, and to bring all that to light. There's an awful lot of things that have happened that need to be explored.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The deception, like I'd said, that we see in this country right now is one that you see out of China. And we know how China runs their regime, and it's not the way the American government should be doing business. I want to take one more quick break here. We're talking with former senior NSA intel analyst Russ Tice, and get Russ's take as we conclude here in the next segment, where this country goes and foreign policy wise, and what we have to look forward to and what we have to look out for as we look now just about a month away for President Trump returning to office. We're coming right back with Russ, folks. Stay with us.
Because of your overwhelming support, our 1488 MyPillow has been one of the biggest sales in MyPillow history. I couldn't think of a better way to say thank you than to extend our wholesale pricing through Christmas. Get a classic standard MyPillow for only $14.88. Upgrade to a queen size, just $18.88. King size, only $1 more. Get my body pillows for only $29.88. And ready? Multi-use MyPillows, only $9.88. It's perfect time to stock up for Christmas gifts for everyone on your list. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our wholesale pricing. Including my classic standard MyPillows, only $14.88. But that's not all. I'm so confident you're going to love our classic MyPillows that I'm going to extend my 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2025. Plus, orders over $75 ship absolutely free.
Folks, we're back. We're talking with Russ Tice, former senior NSA intel analyst and great American. Russ, I want to get your sense on the world, where we go now with President Trump back in office. But first, I want to turn to Syria, and I guess it's the falling of Syria. Bashar al-Assad fleeing to Russia. President Trump sending out a Truth Social message saying America should have nothing to do with this. This is Syria. Let's stop getting involved in the world's problems. Joe Biden immediately goes and bombs the hell out of the place. What happens now in Syria?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I mean, you've got so many factors involved in what's going on in Syria. You've got Bashar al-Assad was supported by Russia, and of course you've got the terrorist factions being supported by Iran that are proxied through Syria, and Russia has an interest in the seaport and the airport that they're using for military bases, which is their and I think their only maintenance facility that they have is basically that Syrian facility. So that's a Russian interest. I mean, the United States has basically been going after the Muslim Brotherhood and bombing the hell out of them by also in working with the Kurds. The Kurds are going after we're going after Bashir and some of the Muslim rebel groups, especially in the north. But they also even were in alliance with the Kurds. But the Turks hate the Kurds, right. and at the same time they're invading northern Syria to go after Kurdish forces. Especially, and then the Kurds themselves have different factions. Some want to create their own country, and of course the Turks immediately want to go after those. Some of these factions have also taken up, residents in northwest Iraq. So you've got all of these different factions, and now Israel is in the mix too. Right. Now they've got military forces into the Golan Heights area, and you've got the UN buffer area that's now in jeopardy with the Israelis down south. So it's like trying to juggle 20 different beach balls all at the same time. Ultimately, we hear that the guy that's running the group that took over Damascus is trying to give women civil liberties and all these things. Freeing all the prisoners, and a couple Americans I think that were in prison have been released as well. But I mean, we're going to have to let this thing settle to find out ultimately where everyone stands, and not just go whacking things willy-nilly or bombing this or that. Think about what happened with Osama bin Laden. I mean, with our former president Obama. I mean. His State Department decided we were going to find the moderate Muslim rebels and support them against Bashar al-Assad, and they turned out being that they were ISIS. Right. So the creation of ISIS was literally done by our CIA and our president, Barack Obama. So we have to be careful, who we pick out as who we want to ultimately be in the powers. This whole thing started with the Arab Spring, where a whole lot of other Arab states, and then not only that, you've got other Arab nations, the whole Gulf, Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar and Bahrain and Yemen, not Yemen, but Oman. They're all backing the Sunni side of this faction as far as rebels, and then you've got the Shia side being the Iran factor, and they're throwing money and capabilities and buying weapons for different cases. So you've got all these interests in Syria, and it's just one jumble of nightmare trying to figure out who's who.
Are you even a little bit surprised that America and our politicians still haven't learned their lesson since the fall of Saddam Hussein and what we've done to Iraq?
Well, no, I'm not. Because ultimately, every time we go send some weapons capability somewhere, or we bomb something, we have to replace it with new bombs. I was deeply involved in initially right after 9/11, taking my space capabilities, which were normally on a strategic level, and putting them into a tactical level, which was difficult, and hunting down Osama bin Laden and company. And we started using space capabilities to do that, and we had him very quickly pinned down in Tora Bora in that mountain. We were begging President W. Bush, begging him to send in the 82nd Airborne, the 101st Airborne, and the backside of that mountain, because we knew it was porous, and then go in and kill every living thing in that mountain. And we could have done it very quickly. We would have had Osama bin Laden, and then we wouldn't have to stay in Afghanistan. And at first I couldn't understand why. Why did we not take care of business when we had the opportunity? We had them right there in our sights. Right. It's because they did not want to. They wanted an extended war in Afghanistan. They wanted to spend billions and billions of dollars there, and trillion or more, because the military-industrial complex and the war profiteers, I like to call them, like Ozzy Osbourne, the war pigs, wanted to make billions of dollars. The Darth Cheneys of the world, Halliburton. That's what it was all about. It was all about the money to be made. And who cares how many boys and our girls in the military come home in boxes with flags draped on, or how many civilians, tens of thousands of Afghani civilians, and then ultimately the same thing in Iraq that happened. Yep. So it was all about the money. It's all about every time we expend these capabilities, we have to replace them. And there are people that are the war profiteers are making lots of money in doing so.
I had a good friend who was in the Marines. He's out of it now, retired. And he used to tell me stories. The kids in Iraq used to throw rocks at him and throw rocks at their helicopters because they're trained to hate Americans. And I mean, how can you not blame them? Look at what happened to their country after America came in and tore the place up. The kids, the American civilians who were over there, whose lives are ruined over it. I mean, it's just everybody who was destroyed by it. Now the government's looking to do, it seems, probably the same thing over in Syria. And if Trump did not win on November 5th, I think we would probably see just that. Or something like in Afghanistan, where you've got now the Taliban running the damn country. I mean, it's like we're not living in a sane world right now with all these terrible things that have happened. Russ, in just 4 years ago, there was, crazy people, but the world is, I think, a lot more sane than it is now. I think you have people now totally off their rockers around the world. Putin goes into Ukraine. Hamas goes into a musical conference on October 7th and starts killing innocent people. Iran fueling proxy wars over Lebanon. I mean, you've got Israel blowing the hell out of everyone around them. How do you tame this all down, Russ? It's like everywhere you go, if you throw a dart at a map in the Middle East, there's something going on there that wasn't happening 4 years ago.
When you have a weak and compromised leader, most powerful man in the world, you can't say that of Biden, But once people feel that they have no one that's going to put a check on them, then they'll do what they want to do. Which is why President Trump did not have these issues. When you deal with strength, people, these are all areas where they respect strength, and as soon as you show weakness, they're going to take advantage of it. And just the same as a lot of our economy going down the hole and everything else. We've had the horrible presidency, and I hope on the 20th of January we're finally going to be back into a position where we have a leader that knows how to negotiate, knows how to use a strength position to deal with the world politic, and that's what they respect, and that's when they'll get back in line, and we'll have hopefully a world that not on the brink of blowing everybody up.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely Russ. Folks, for all you guys listening, Russ is not a politician. He's not a man who's ever been involved in politics in his life. As far as I'm concerned, I don't even think Russ is a career voting Republican. But he worked in these agencies who have caused and helped cause destruction across this country, helped cause destruction against President Trump and democracy. And I think it's probably brought Russ to this point in his life where he sees what can happen to people. He witnessed himself what happened to him when these dark forces come at you. Russ, I want to give you the last word here as we conclude. The floor is yours, whatever you want to say.
Speaking about party, I was a Republican, and until George W. Bush, I had so much, all the whistleblowing that came out with me initially was against the neocons. Right. And under George W. Bush, I was so disgusted, I became an independent.
Yeah.
Then a few years ago, I jumped back into the Republican Party because I started to see, where the neocons were starting to wane, and we had a president. I saw a presidency under Trump. I didn't vote for President Trump at first. I did write-ins for Rand Paul because I believed our economy needed to be fixed. Right now, we have a country on the brink of losing our republic, and the only man for that is President Trump. So he has to save our republic, and soon after that, hopefully we can work on getting our financial situation in place. But the bottom line is, it shouldn't depend on whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. These are issues that affect us all. Most recently, anyone who went to the grocery store and tried to buy groceries for their family or pay their auto insurance, and world security, in a nuclear conflagration, we all fry. So we all fry together. So we should, even if it was a liberal Democrat Republican president, if he or she dealt with a position of strength, I'd bite my tongue on some of the liberal policy stuff, but we haven't had anything like that, and everyone should be getting on board with fixing and righting this ship.
Yeah, yep, you're absolutely right. World peace, it does good for everybody, Russ. It does good for the average person, and it does good for the governments. To not be so entangled with the military-industrial complex. I hope to God over these next 4 years, President Trump and his administration and some of these non-rhino senators get their heads on straight and end these wars. Let Americans go to sleep at night knowing the world is safe. Let Americans go travel abroad knowing they're safe where they're going. Because it's really no way to live. We shouldn't be living our lives where we constantly have to worry about North Korea launching a nuclear weapon to California, or China launching a nuclear weapon into Taiwan, or Russia launching a nuclear weapon into America, or Iran launching a nuclear weapon. It's no place to live. At the end of the day, Russ, we're all humans. And I think people need to get their act together. It starts with these rhinos and war hawks who all they want is war. They've got to go. Those days are over. The days of George W. Bush are done. The days of Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney are done. This is Trump's party now. We all know where Trump sits on the war issue. He doesn't want any part of it. He wants nothing to do with it, and he wants world peace. And I think that's exactly what we should give him. Russ, Tice, you're a great American. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us today here on the Great American Show, and thanks to the great Russ Tice for joining us. A special shout-out to my good friends Scott and Arthur Poole for allowing me to stay on their boat over this weekend down here in Florida as I get ready to head back to New York. We'll see you all back here tomorrow on the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.